It's gay and merry. Merry. I hope our sound's okay. I can't check it. I can't check it tonight. Of me.
We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. Na 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 na.
Hello and welcome to this Wednesday's edition of Movie News here at MBE. We'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel and of course our Twitch stream. We are live and interactive and I'm joined as always with co-host John C. Walsh and I'm your other co-host Stephen John McLaughlin. Welcome folks and welcome John. How are you doing? I remember that. John, it's very interesting to see that you covered the Amber Heard story, the updated Amber Heard story last night, sort of rounding off last night's show. I clipped it earlier today, and it's had a few good responses. I'm sure you'll catch up with those comments very shortly, but I knew it would draw attention. Okay. Whoosh, whoopa. In the words of Chandler, wasn't it? She might like that, John, but uh, I'm not talking about her tonight. We're talking about Black Adam, as you can gather from our thumbnail and our headline. Black Adam movie producer confirms filming starts in April next month, basically. And this is coming from Screen Rant. Black Adam will begin production next month in Georgia. Producer Hiram Garcia has confirmed he has also said that he has high hopes for the film. Well, I would hope he would. But on Tuesday, during his interview with Comic Book, Hiram Garcia, the president of production at Johnson's Seven Bucks Production, confirmed that Black Adam was gearing up to begin filming in Georgia in April. Sharing his excitement and enthusiasm for the project, Garcia revealed that he was glad that despite the hurdles caused by the pandemic, the crew managed to reassemble and get the film moving in the right direction. And he had this to say, John, we are getting started soon. You know, actually, we begin filming in April. We'll be in Georgia, home away from home. We're really excited, man. We have everything is ramped up. This is terrible English, by the way. We are so fired up for this. Obviously, you know how passionate we are about this project. This is very special to us, and you know, not only Black Adam, but JSA and all the other characters we're introducing to the world and what we want to do with it. We're supposed to have been filming last year. COVID, like it delayed everyone, it kind of got in the way. But we're happy we are able to pause, regroup, and now we're going to be getting going. And by April, we'll be shooting and on track to bring this thing home. John, that was quite a mouthful. It was very hard to sort of deliver that line there. But John, we've talked about Black Adam. Dwayne Johnson, obviously, leading man. Dwayne, we're looking forward to this. Just great to see that this is finally starting, you know, in production. You talked about before we came on, obviously, John, that it wasn't that long ago this thing was in limbo. No. John, you might want to check your sound, by the way. I don't want to interrupt, but you might want to check your sound. Yeah, while you're doing that,
was
John,
I muted? Oh, shit.
You were muted. Well, listen, I'm going to let you...
I'll tell you what we'll do, right? I don't know if you're up for this. We'll say...
No, I'm not. I'm not doing that again. I'm not starting again. I'm just going to let you back in, John, and maybe you can just bullet point the things you say.
I'll tell you what we'll do then, Stephen, right? See when you're done, if you want to just cut this fucking shit and we'll put it out as an actual independent title, then that'll make sense. Because people coming in here...
Good shout, yeah.
Well, look at me and they'll see nothing coming out my mouth and they'll think it's actually an improvement.
I honestly don't know, and I'm glad we caught it for the first.
I'll tell you what happened, Stephen.
Rather than...
Because I was singing The Wizard of Oz at the start, and then I muted myself to stifle the laughter, and I came back in, and I didn't unmute. Well, Stephen, as I was saying before,
yes, as you were saying,
now that I'm unmuted, very excited, and I'm glad I was muted because I screwed up a couple of times, so I can now say it and appear more confident. I am so excited for this because it's Dwayne Johnson, huge fan of Dwayne, big fan of him since the late 90s, mid-90s, Attitude Era, wrestling fan. Growing up watching this guy, inspirational figure, big muscly guy, great off screen. Perfect step for this guy is to play a superhero in a movie, be it Marvel or DC. It looks like it's never going to be Marvel because he's stepped into the shoes of Black Adam, and that's absolutely fine. This was the next logical step for this guy. He's already playing superhero figures in action movies. So I'm excited to see him tackling the Black Adam character. It feels like it's the perfect role for Dwayne, or Dwayne, as Leonardo DiCaprio's Rick Dalton would have says in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. The character's so interesting, Stephen. He's not quite a hero, he's not quite a villain. He's sort of living on that precipice in between the two. He sort of bounces at that moral compass. Very precipice-y. Can't think of a word off the top of my head. So it's a very interesting character. He's just perfect to play this role. And they do say, as the producer does say, introducing the Justice Society of America into this, another sort of ensemble group. So this could set up a whole array of interesting plots for Shazam, for the Justice League if Zack's coming back, and I spoke about that last night and I hope he is. This movie could really spark off a renaissance for this expanded universe. And of course, Stephen, it's an interesting little movie. Backstory, we've seen the teaser. You're going back thousands of years, you're getting the backstory of Black Adam, him rising and falling in shame, all of these sort of ancient peoples and how that's going to reflect into the modern day. It's almost like the Eternals. It's spanning thousands of years. So I read another article today looking up on this movie, Stephen. The producer was speaking last year. He says it's going to blow fans' minds, the way they're tackling it, the way some set pieces are going to play out. He's very excited for it. He's reiterated that excitement in that article there. So I cannot wait, man. I'm glad it's come out of production purgatory and it's now going to be shooting next month. So yeah, looking forward to it.
Even more interesting, John, is obviously Dwayne Johnson will be carrying this film. How do you think he will live up to the Black Adam character? How do you think he will sort of transcend that traditional comic book character? How do you think he will be able to adapt into another genre? Because has he been in a comic book? I don't think he has. No, not yet.
But he's been that sort of superhero figure, hasn't he? Rampage, San Andreas,
larger than life,
Skyscraper. This sort of larger than life, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger type character. sort of prattling around on ropes, swinging out of a building 1,000 feet up in the air. So he's not alien to playing these sort of figures. Stephen, I think he'll acclimatise well into the DC side of things. How will he handle that transition over to superhero? How will it be handled in terms of arc? I think he'll handle it via the history of the character, the society, the way they're going to go back and delve into this character's origin. It's going to diversify the world, enrich the character for the audience. Maybe people who are not aware of the comic book origins of this character, they can go in and really immerse themselves in this world. And Dwayne will slide right in. We've seen it. He's working his arse off, or ass, if you're from the States. He's what would be the word? Expending blood, sweat and tears. He's bigger than he's ever been. He's almost in a dual fight with Chris Hemsworth for who can get the biggest physique. Have you seen Chris recently, Stephen? Jesus suffering Christ, he's playing Hulk Hogan.
Hulk Hogan, yeah.
And he is a joke. His body double's now having to bulk up because he can't look like Hulk. He's that big.
Henry Cavill's going that way as well.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, Stephen. I don't know how these guys do it. They're nearly 40. These guys, Henry, I think, is in his 40s. I'm in my early 30s. I can't bulk up like that. They're clearly pushing the old steroids, the testosterone. They're going through cycles, and that's absolutely fine, man. They're paid to do it. I have no issue with it, man. They still have to work hard for it. Dwayne, I know for a fact, is taking testosterone, but look, who would begrudge that guy that? He's in his 50s now, late 40s, 50s. He just doesn't have the natural testosterone of a 20, 30-year-old. So look, I'm absolutely fine with that. I'm not going to get into steroid talk here in bodybuilding. Needless to say, I think he'll be absolutely great in this superhero role. It's been a long time coming. He's very passionate about it. He's got a team of people around him that are very passionate. They're building a nice little cast. I can't wait to see this GSA storyline, how that's going to impact on Black Adam, how they're going to lead this up into the Shazam sort of cataclysmic clash, because that's his arch nemesis. Or will it be, Stephen? Will it be like Cable in Deadpool, where you think they're going to clash, but at the end they're actually good friends and they move aside into the future? I hope it's like that. I want to see Black Adam continuing.
What do you call him? The Charlie Cox character, Daredevil, and who was the sort of anti-hero in the second season again? The assassin chap. What was his name again?
Oh yeah, I know who you're
John
talking about.
Berthel played him.
The Punisher.
Can't remember the character.
The Punisher.
Yeah, a bit like that as well, John. You know, where they're built up to be something they're not. That's actually a good angle. The other good thing is, if things stay on schedule and this begins production next month, we could be seeing a trailer by the end of the year. Yeah. You know, a full trailer of that. We might get a teaser maybe in the summer.
Yeah, I was about to say that. We could see a sizzler reel or just a little glimpse at this story come Comic-Con. And look, I'm praying to sweet baby Jesus, if he's up there and he's listening, and he won't be, that it's not remote this year. The vaccines are getting rolled out at an unbelievable rate in the States. They're months ahead of schedule. I want to see San Diego Comic-Con packed. I want to see it in person. I want to see Dwayne Johnson at Comic-Con revealing a little snippet of that movie. It's going to be dynamite, man, if he's there. So that's my hopes. I can't wait to see, because that little concept teaser was brilliant. Absolutely loved it. So
very interesting.
Getting made into reality.
Something I never expected, John. And I didn't think they would go down that line the way they did, but it was one of the better ones. Very hard to react to. We did try and react to it, but it was very difficult because of its format. But
not as good as the Weezer Suicide Squad one, though, was it?
No, that was amazing. But John, we're going to move on to our next article, and it's a film we don't have to wait too long. It comes out on Friday on Amazon Prime.
Screwed this up, man. What am I doing? This show's a shambles.
I cannot wait for this film to come out, John. This is coming to America, and Eddie Murphy's actually talking about the original movie here. I think he was on Jimmy Kimmel alongside Arsenio Hall. These guys don't age. I don't know if you've seen the video clip.
Oh, I need to watch it.
Phenomenal, John. These guys they look like they're still in their 30s.
Eddie is
ridiculous.
Is he 50 odds? Nearly 60?
Well, he must be nearly 60, John.
Guy looks younger than me. He looks younger than me. I'm half his age and he looks younger than me. It's insane.
There's something going on there. But this is coming from this is coming in from Cinema Blind. Coming to America's Eddie Murphy on being forced to add a white character to the original movie. We all know who it is anyway. It's Louis. Louis Anderson, comedian. But this revelation came from Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall when they were visiting Jimmy Kimmel Live to promote Coming to America, when Kimmel asked how Louis Anderson came to be part of Come to America, here's what the actor had to say. Arsenio Hall said, I love Louis, but I think we were forced to put Louis in it. I think we were forced to put in a white person. Eddie Murphy said, Paramount were like, because the whole cast was black, and this was back in the 80s, so it was like, we have to have a white person. There has to be a white person in the movie. So who was the funniest white guy around? Louis. We knew he was cool, so that's how Louis got in the movie. John, he's reprising the role.
No, that's great.
I think his name's Maurice. Yeah, I hope he is, because that's where he wanted to be, because that's where the big bucks are.
Who knows, in 2 years, you could be footing buggers like me. I think that was what he says anyway. Stephen, that's interesting. It's an interesting insight into 30, 40 years ago. Well, 30 years ago, the industry and how it's transformed over that time. And there's still people, naysayers, slagging off the Academy and things like that, the Oscars so white, for the lack of progression. But you see where we were then and where we are now, with the likes of Chadwick Boseman and Black Panther, all black cast pretty much. We had Martin Freeman and Ulysses Coyle, obviously Andy Serkis. But that was unheard of. You couldn't think of doing that 30 years ago. So we've seen progress. Look, man, I like the fact they introduced this character. He was a little side character, man. He didn't have any...
Memorable.
He was memorable. He was memorable. Every character in that movie is memorable, Stephen. It's just unbelievable. Even the throwaway characters, like the twins at the club, or the little, I was Joan of Arc in a former life, things like that. They're all memorable. Every single character that Eddie Murphy wrote in these movies back then, he was at the prime of his game. They were all memorable. But I'm glad they done it, man. And obviously for him, it probably would have been a glad moment for him and Arsenio. They would have wanted to have had that all-black cast, and that would have been pioneering back then. But it wasn't to be. And look, man, it's a storm in a teacup, really. You'll probably have people on social media using this as a sort of, what would you call it, a petard, I don't know, to sort of crusade against Paramount or something like that, because that's what bitches are like on social media these days. But it's interesting to see that they weren't allowing an all-black cast, even though it was set in Queens in New York. It was probably predominantly African-American, and it would have been more natural to have a predominant African-American
John,
cast.
I'll tell you something. I was 11 when it came out, and you talk about natural. I watched that without even considering that sort of angle, and I think it's just because of what my upbringing was. A stable diet of, dare I say it, the Cosby Show, which was good at the time. Different Strokes, Benson, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Every one of them were phenomenal, and so relatable to myself. Well written, well acted, and it didn't really matter, colour, class or creed. It did not matter a bit. You watched it for the talent, and that's what I watched Come to America for, the talent. Back in 1987, I think it might have been 1988 by the time I saw the film, so I would have been about 12. I'm probably too young to watch it, but I loved Eddie Murphy, and I loved his previous films, and I wanted to see this, and it was just fantastic from beginning to end. It's got everything in it. It's got the comedy, it's got the drama, it's got the romantic element to it. It's just got everything, and as you said, John, all these colourful characters, out with obviously the Arsenio Hall and Eddie Murphy sort of multiple characters. You had some fantastic actors in there, the likes of John Amos. We're talking about that chap Louis as well. James Earl Jones, exactly. And the list goes on. That little guy from the barber shop as well, who loves Randy Watson.
Could be good.
Him as well. Yeah. That was his first appearance, but I'm talking about the wee old guy. You know how the three. He's good.
Good and terrible.
And that's the other thing. It's so quotable. John, my wife and I are going to watch this. Your sister, obviously, are going to be watching this on Friday night, along with our oldest daughter, who liked the first movie. And I don't have any reservations about this. When we first talked about this, John, it might have been 2 or 3 years ago. If anyone ever looks back and says, I think we might have went, "Oh, this is a terrible idea." Time's a great healer, and I think Eddie Murphy has been on a roll ever, for the last 2-3 years anyway. And the more he spoke about this film in production, the more I was liking what I was hearing. And then when we got that trailer about a month or two ago, I think it was just before Christmas actually, it just had everything I thought it should have. It wasn't forced humour. I felt like what we got in Dumb and Dumber 2, which was very unfortunate. But I think as long as they don't sour or stain that first movie with it, I don't want. I hope they don't, John. You know, the only concern I've got is this Stray Son. How that came about, I don't know. Because I don't think Akeem knows either.
Was Akeem up to something we didn't know about in the events of the first movie, Hooran and Turnet in Queens? Could it be? I don't know what's happened, Stephen, but I'm very much excited to see. I'm much like you. Wasn't really looking forward to the notion of a second movie. It was a cult classic, an absolute classic, comedic classic for me. Probably one of my all-time favourite movies, certainly my favourite Eddie Murphy movie. So I didn't want it getting ruined by a shit sequel. But based on that trailer, much like you, I think it does look promising. It looks as though he's respecting the characters, respecting the world. He's not sullying it for a cheap buck. He doesn't need it. The guy's made for life. Arsenio and him have came together. They've got a story there. We've got Wesley Snipes in there playing the sort of tyrannical tyrant of the neighbouring estate from Zamunda, I should say. So it's got all of the original gang coming back, apart from the wife, the Queen, because she sadly passed away. All the key ingredients are there. So I'm looking forward to it, man. And look, much like, as I keep saying, as you touched upon, Stephen, with the growing up watching all of those great TV shows with predominantly black cast, the likes of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, I can't speak tonight. I loved that, man. I was a huge fan of Will Smith growing up. I recall sneaking in to see Men in Black 2. We were seeing another movie. I've seen all of the Men in Black movies in the theatres. So I love Will Smith. And it never really crossed my mind, that whole sort of thing, looking for white characters, needing to have a white character. I can connect with anybody on a human level if the story's right and it's a good movie. So whilst I can understand why they done it, Paramount, it was the 1980s, there was some backward views back then regarding race. They thought they had to force a white person in to connect with white audiences. Looking from the future now, it does look a little bit, how shall I put it, short-sighted, a little bit backwards, for lack of a better word. So that's the great thing about my generation and current generations, including Gen X, Stephen. I'll give you your merit too. More forthright in their views, a little bit more forward thinking. They don't give a shit about that. More carefree. Loving peace and love and all that jazz, to quote Ringo Starr, and that's great. The world's a better place for it. But yeah.
But we'll end that topic on that note, John, and we'll move on to our next one. And this is one that was kind of rearranged because I read the original article and I went, bollocks, we're not doing that because it's too long and winded, and it's really just a writer's theory on what they should do for this remake of The Running Man. Stephen King's The Running Man, Edgar Wright, who has such a busy schedule at the moment.
The hell out of you.
He's adding another, John. He's looking to make a deal to develop and direct a new adaptation of Stephen King's The Running Man. Now, a lot of people didn't know at the time Stephen King was connected to The Running Man, the film, because it went under a pseudonym, Richard Bachman, I think the name was. I'll just look for that somewhere in this article. Yeah, Richard Bachman it is. I think most sort of film buffs knew it. Yeah, I don't know why, but John, I'll
probably
just
because of Maximum Overdrive, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm going to say something though, but I think this actual article from Empire Online, I'm not going to read it all. I'm not going to read it at all because it's really just talking about Edgar Wright's involvement in a new version of The Running Man, John. So I'm not really wanting to get into this article because it's a week old anyway, and we sort of missed it for some reason. I don't know, right under the radar, but. What's your views on this, John? Because the last sort of remake that I watched, an Arnold Schwarzenegger classic, was Total Recall. Was remade with Colin Farrell about 10 years ago. Maybe not as long as that, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago. And although it was an okay film, it didn't hold up to the sort of greatness of the original 1990 film. Mm-hmm. It was better made. Visually, it looks better.
Well, I'll get into that, Steve.
Maybe arguably we could say as well that there was more high-profile actors in the remake as well, but it didn't have the feel, John. It didn't have the sort of.
It didn't have
it didn't have the memorable moments, and those one-liners. A great one-liner from The Running Man.
Well, Stephen, the one that I'm thinking about, and I hope it's The Running Man, because all of Arnie's movies blend into one, but it's that big, long, angry rant.
Yeah.
I'll live to see you eat that contract, but I hope you leave enough space so I can grab and put it down your and break your goddamn spine. I can't recall it all, but just epic, man. That is Arnie.
Yeah.
And Steve, that's why this is a bad idea. I'll get into it, man. Look, I love Edgar Wright. You can see the poster behind me. Shaun of the Dead. I love him, man. I think he's one of the all-time great directors. I love the way his mind works. I recall watching the video. I think you sent it to me. Him and Simon Pegg storyboarding in a cottage somewhere. They'd done it for weeks. For Hot Fuzz, I think it was. I love the way this guy thinks. He's just outstanding. And look, if anybody can do a remake, a rehash of it, an updated version of a story and do it well, it probably is him. But it's lacking Schwarzenegger, and there's nobody out just now who can do Arnold Schwarzenegger leading roles like Arnold Schwarzenegger done 30 years ago. We've seen it with the Predator movie. It was that Boyd guy, Boyd Hellbrook, and it just lacked something. He didn't have the presence, the charisma, the one-liners. He just couldn't carry the movie, Stephen. I mean, we had what's his name, Tremblay, whatever his name is, little guy, Jacob Tremblay. I think he was in there. He's in everything now. He nearly stole the show, this little kid, this little deaf, sort of autistic kid.
Yeah.
It was lacking. This will be the same, Stephen, because we have not got a guy like Arnold Schwarzenegger now. So if you've not got that leading man in there, you can't get an actor to eclipse or at least equal what Arnie done in the 1990 movie, then it's destined to fail. And I don't know what they can add. And Stephen, you says it looked better, but there's something about 1990, 1980s, those early 90s, late 80s, we've seen it with T2. It's wonky, but it just looks better because it's practical and you know it's real.
There's something about, I was referring to Total Recall, and there's something very claustrophobic about the 1990 version.
Yep.
There's not a lot of exterior shots in that film, if you recall. It's mostly indoors. I don't know if it's obviously a budget thing, but you're right, for what you may think about Arnold Schwarzenegger and his acting abilities, there's something about that man's charisma and his screen presence, as well as obviously his physical presence as well on screen, that can't be matched. There's just something about that guy in these films. He was good through this spell round about 1987, right up to about maybe 1994, 95, where every film that he was the main sort of actor in, the leading actor, was just box office gold.
Yeah.
And there's a reason for that. And it's not because of his acting abilities, it's his presence and what he brings to the his brand to the film. And it's something that can't be matched. And you're absolutely right. If this film had never been made, The Running Man, that is, I can understand this would be a great project. It's a Stephen King.
It's a brilliant concept. Story.
It is, John. It's fantastic, and it really delves into sort of manipulation of the media and propaganda. Exactly. And that's a great element to this film. Away from all the sort of silly theatrics of guys dressed up as, hey, Mr. Christmas Tree, all that kind of thing. Away from all that, it does have a great message. And if this film had not already been made, I watched The Running Man not that long ago, actually, maybe about...
Steve, you gave me it round.
Less than a year ago, John. Yeah, it's dated. It looks 1980s, but there's something charming about it still. It still excites me.
It's like RoboCop. There's something about that era. It's off. It's visually, it's fake as hell. Even when he's getting his hand blown up, it's gruesome in RoboCop. But there's something about that era. It's practical. It's got that sort of vibe to it. You can't replicate it. It's from that era. There's something about that era. The action movies, they just had something about them. That sort of X factor. I quote that goon, Simon Cowell. That absolute weirdo. He could fit right into. What was your man that done RoboCop? What was he called again? He had a really weird name.
Peter Weller. It was who played RoboCop.
The director. It's like a Dutch.
Verhoeven,
yeah. He could slip right into a Verhoeven movie, Simon Cowell, with those gruesome teeth, injecting vitamins into his arm through a drip. That's a Verhoeven character if ever I've seen one. In fact, he could be the guy that dissolved in acid. But Steve, there's something about... I wish he fucking would. There's something about... He had a fall or something, didn't he? He broke his leg recently. There's something about that era. Just make those movies. It's like Back to the Future as well. It's got that vibe to it. You can't replicate it in the modern day. People are cynical. They've not got the patience for it. They're not really interested. They want their hand held. And you can't do it, Stephen, because we've not got the rating system now. Studios are so obsessed with making money, getting as much demographics and eyeballs into the cinema as possible, that they neuter the actual rating. We've seen it with Blade. It's going to be PG-13. I personally don't care about that because it's Kevin Feige and he can make anything work. But Paramount and people like that, I don't think they can make it work, and I don't think Edgar Wright will get the freedom to make an 18 or something like that. It will have to be neutered for the kids, and it will lose the magic. I mean, I don't know what the Running Man was. What was the rating of the original one, Stephen? I may have to search it.
It might have been a
15.
15 at the time. Yeah, it might have been.
That'd be R-rated. Do you think we'll get an R-rated?
I'm not sure.
I'll search it just now.
I think if they want to keep, if they want to keep Edgar Wright in the project, they might have to make it an R-rated because he's been involved in so many projects that he's actually walked away from because of studio interference. We've seen it with Ant-Man, you know, and we'll see it again. Edgar Wright is a very much a director similar to Tarantino, you know, who has his principles, who has a style that he wants to keep. I don't think he likes a lot of studio interference.
Stain, I'd be very intrigued to see Edgar Wright's other movies, how they have rated in the past. He's not got an unbelievable amount of movies. I'm going to quickly delve in and look at a couple, if you do bear with me. I know The World's End. I mean, that was a 15. So, and then you look at Hot Fuzz, that was quite violent in parts, 15. And then you look back to Shaun of the Dead, that was played for laughs, it was a comedy, it was a 15. We're seeing a theme arising here, Baby Driver, it was a 15. They're all 15, that's rated R. I think over
did he do Scott Pilgrim as well?
He did Scott Pilgrim, yep. Let's see what that was. That was a 12A, so that was the lowest rated. That's the equivalent to a PG-13. A lot of people love Scott Pilgrim. I think it's one of his worst movies, personally. Controversial, I do know. But in the main, this guy does 15, so are they going to give him? I think if they're going to give anyone the keys to freedom for filmmaking, it should be Edgar Wright, because we've seen it. He's dynamite, Stephen. The Cornetto trilogy, it had profanities, it had violence, it was amazing. He can make it work if he can get the right leading man. I don't know if they're out there, but I'm sure he'll pick somebody. I hope it's not Simon Pegg. No harm to him, but I love Simon Pegg. But he can't play Arnold Schwarzenegger leading main characters. He's too small, and he ain't get the physique. Although he's shredded to hell, I tell you that. He's done well. His physique. He's went from a chubby little tubby.
I think it really just it depends on how much they want to take from the adaptation as well, John. Because from what I've read, the movie was a bit of a stretch compared to the novel. They did change the character a bit, so whether or not they might stay true to the actual adaptation, then you could fit around that and you could make it whoever you want. But it's how it's received is more the important thing here. You know, how people will they want to see this? Do we really need another Running Man film? That's the other question.
Probably not.
I don't think so.
Stephen, do you agree with this other article we were going to speak about, that Ben Richards should be a black character in this movie? Do you think that's something that's an absolute necessity? Because I
don't care.
Right away, off the top of my head, if you go with a black leading role, there's some amazing charismatic leading men out there. Michael B. Jordan, right off the top of my head, is one. Yeah. He could come in and do that, and I think he'd do really well. But again, I seen Campea and Robert Meyer Burnett speaking the other day about Superman. Does he have to be black? Campea nailed it. He says
he just has to be a good actor.
Just has to be a good actor. The story has to be good. Superman's not defined by his skin colour. It's all bollocks. It's all about the character, how it's been written. And if it's written well, it can transcend all races. It doesn't matter who you get in. So ultimately, it's all about getting the right character, writing the story for it, black or white. I don't give a shit. I'd love to see Michael B. Jordan, by the way. I think that'd be amazing. I've got a little comment, couple of love hearts. Thank you very much. The feeling's mutual. Thank you for coming in and watching us prattling away about the Running Man. My favourite thing. We love speaking about Schwarzenegger. I know I do anyway. I can't speak for you, Stephen. But yeah, I'm done speaking.
I would give a wee heart back, but I've only got one hand because I've got to hold the mic here, so I can't do it.
I'm running
but anyway, we're going to move on to our next topic, John. We've got another 3 to get by here before we wrap up for tonight or tomorrow. This is the morning now. Yes. And this is all about the School of Rock. Can you believe this film is nearly 20-year-old? I can't believe it. But this is coming from Screen Rant, John, and it's the School of Rock star says the role led to bullying and addiction. This is School of Rock star Rivka Reyes describes how the film's success spurred negative personal attention, ultimately leading to bullying and addiction. Now, Rivka Reyes, she played, I'm trying to remember, it was Katie. Katie, the bass player. Very good bass player, by the way, as I recall.
I
always remember Jack Black's character referring to her as Posh Spice. Oh, you know how he just rhymes off names like that, and that's what he named her. But while speaking to the New York Post, Ray has revealed the adverse effects of the film's popularity. The actor, who uses they, them pronouns, described the ways in which they were subsequently sexualized and stalked as a child.
Yeah.
A grown man followed them to school when they were in 6th grade and tried to snap photos. On message boards, adult men shared their excitement for when the actor eventually turned 18. Along with these terrifying events, Ray has also faced severe bullying at school. She said this, especially after production wrapped: when I first came back to school, people were really nice or really mean. There was no middle ground. I was literally followed around the school with people chanting School of Rock. It's quite sad, John. Obviously, the bullying's one thing, obviously this thing about grown men on message boards is absolutely terrifying.
Sadly,
but,
Steve, that's
unfortunately,
yeah,
and that's the world, John. That's a dark corner of the world as well that sadly exists.
It does.
But we talk about child actors every now and again on this show, John. We talk about the ones who've came through it successfully. Not many, I'm afraid. Yeah. When it comes to the School of Rock, I can't really recall any of them breaking through, apart from maybe a couple of them on Disney channels, the kids kind of things. Those sitcoms, that Disney do for one of their channels.
Yeah.
But apart from
Disney
that,
Club. Funny enough, I don't recall many of them breaking through, apart from Justin Timberlake. Christina Aguilera and Britney Spears, the rest were a bit shit, Stephen, from the Disney Club. So, you set these young kids up to stardom. It's very dangerous. It's a tumultuous path for these kids. We've seen the likes of Christian Bale. They made it through. Elijah Wood, he made it through. Off the top of my head, Daniel Radcliffe just made it through by this tiniest little you-know-what. I can't say that on the show because that would probably get us banned. But it's
Bohair?
Yeah, Bohair, yeah. I'll come out and say it. There you go. Tiniest little Bohair. There's a little Scottish slang phrase from me. Thank you, Stephen. You freed me up there. There's not many came through, so it's a very dangerous path, and it's for these reasons, Stephen. We've seen Jake Lloyd speaking about this, obviously of Anakin Skywalker fame from the prequel trilogy. It should have been the happiest moment of his life, being cast as Anakin Skywalker, soon to be Darth Vader. He was a little kid, but he got bullied horrendously, and it changed. He hit the bottle and stuff, and he went through a really rough patch, getting into his teenage years and stuff like that. Doesn't surprise me that this is the case with this actress as well, Rifki Reyes. I don't know if she's still acting. It may be wrong to call her an actress, but this is the pitfalls of fame and getting thrust into the limelight as a young kid. We've seen Chloe Grace Moretz speak about it too, being sexualised at a very young age, how it made her feel uncomfortable. We've seen this time and again, Stephen, in this industry, Jodie Foster and stuff like that, speaking about things like that. And it's usually the female actors, they get the unwanted attention from these absolute creeps, these weirdos. And it makes them dysfunctional. Steve, we were speaking about it with Bartek on that podcast about 3 weeks ago, and I spoke about actors, how they're strange beasts. They want the limelight, but they're also complicated individuals, like most humans are. They've got issues underneath, and they seem to wear it on their sleeve a little bit more than normal people, because they're getting into roles to sort of escape their own mindset. It must be strange. We've seen it with Heath Ledger and things like that, the rumours, although I love the fact that Paul Bettany recently slapped that away. He says that was absolute nonsense. He was a happy guy. So it doesn't surprise me. I'm going off in tangents here. It does not surprise me that this little kid was subjected to bullying, spiralled into addiction. It's Macaulay Culkin's another one. It's a proven path for these young kids. They go off the rails. Miley Cyrus.
Haley Joel Osment as well.
They all do it, Stephen. It affects them.
It's
Michael Jackson.
It is very sad, and it's obviously had an effect on not just this actor, but I would say a lot of the cast in that film. That was always one of the questions through the years, maybe for the first 10 years after the film's release, School of Rock, that is, why there was no sequels, because it had everything in that first movie. This article explains the reason for that, that it wasn't easy for these kids to go back into normal lives, going to school, doing what normal kids do. Such the success of the School of Rock was, and obviously appearing alongside a big name like Jack Black. Jack Black's still a big name, but even more so then, when he was doing his music, what would they call it again?
Tenacious D. Oh, yes.
Tenacious D. Who were...
This is
they're still a big name, John, but, back in the early 2000s, they were massive, absolutely massive. They were up there with, according to, according to me, they were right up there with the Foo Fighters.
Stephen, he was starting alongside Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl appeared in their video. So he was good friends, and he still is good friends with Dave Grohl. So you
can understand the attention that these kids were getting at the time. They would have been thrust into the limelight very quickly and abruptly, and it would have abruptly stopped at the same time. And that would have had an effect, and a lasting effect on. I'll close the article now to move on, but she did say, along the lines of, is this me reach my peak? At 10 years old, where do I go from here? And you can understand that, can't you?
Yeah, Stephen, that's what it says. Macaulay Culkin's the absolute classic example. This guy he had the world at his feet. The world was his oyster when he was 8 years old or something. In those Home Alone movies, he was friends with Michael Jackson. This guy was at the absolute top of sort of the zenith of his life career, and it all fell to shit. He hit heroin and everything. It nearly destroyed the guy. And we're seeing it, man, time and again with these young kids. Even the little kid from Matilda, what happened to her? Where is she? She's disappeared.
She appeared in she was in Mrs. Doubtfire as well, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was Mrs. Doubtfire. The little the little boy in Mrs. Doubtfire too. What the hell happened to him? So you look through the history of movies, little child actors, they spiral to fame, and then they usually plummet off a cliff. Personal life, career-wise, they usually don't make it. Christian Bale's the exception to the rule. Jodie Foster's the exception to the rule. Leonardo DiCaprio's the exception to the rule. It's maybe a elite little few who come through it and become well-rounded individuals, and they're probably the people who have got good family, friends, connections, who are keeping their head on the ground, or their feet on the ground, head level. Also not the case with this little girl. This woman now, little girl then, she's also spiralled. That's a shame, man. It's tragic. It's a case of what could have been, but it's not to be.
No, it hasn't, John. But it does answer the question why there was no follow-ups to that original film from 2003. But we're going to move on to our next article, John, and it's coming in from republicworld.com, and it's Thalapathy Vijay and Vijay Sethupathi engage in bromance in a behind-the-scenes video of film Master. Now, I don't know if you've watched the video, John. It's on Twitter.
I've not seen it.
In the video shared by Lokesh, Talapathy and Sethupathi are seen practicing some scenes from the movie. Talapathy is also seen playing music with the help of a plate at the end of the video. Talapathy and Vijay Sethupathi engage in an intense stare game and also stand very close to each other, but they end hugging each other with smiles on their faces. Along with the video, Lokesh Kanagaraj also wrote as a caption, "No matter how many ever times I say it ain't enough." You can check us out on Twitter, John.
I'm going to check it out on Twitter, Steve.
_ Lokesh. And I watched it, John. It's a great little clip, and we were talking just before we came on air tonight. And I always sensed that these two guys would get on, and it was nothing to do with obviously the chemistry on screen, during the film Master, where they were arch enemies. I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's maybe because they're similar in age, and possibly they've had similar career paths as well. But there was just something about their chemistry, and I just sensed. I think these guys are getting on pretty well off screen, behind the scenes and stuff like that. And this video proves it.
Steve, you had that vibe in the final sort of part of the movie when they met. Even though they were arch nemesis in the movie, you'd never get the sense that hatred was there off the camera. It looked as though they were quite friendly. When Talapathy's doing his little dance and he's doing that little hing where he's putting his arms to the side, and then he obviously slaps him down again before he hooks him onto that hook. It wasn't personal. I get the sense that there was good camaraderie there, good chemistry. Steve, I spoke about it last week. I think it was the Master thing with obviously Lokesh Kanagaraj and Talapathy Vijay. Behind the scene photos of these guys smiling, great chemistry, had a great time. I say it time and again, you can tell when a movie's been an enjoyable experience for actors and when it's been absolute hell. It manifests itself in the performance. The performances in this movie, they reek of happiness, of being at ease, of enjoying the experience. It was an absolute joy to watch a movie, Steve, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. The dance numbers, the overall vibe from the very start, not the actual Bhavani start, but when obviously, Jack Daniels comes in, the music, it's just amazing. We actually reacted to it. I can't recall the name of the song at the moment, but you get that vibe that always well behind the scenes, and it's nice to see that confirmed, that these two guys are really close, are good friends. I love Vijay Sethupathi from what I've seen in this performance, from what I've seen in, was it Vikram Vida? Where he was in the sort of flats and he was going up against the police. This guy looks like a great actor, man. He seems like a really cool guy. I can't wait to delve into these actors' filmography and see what they've been getting up to in the past and what they're going to get up to in the future. Hopefully they star together again in another movie. I'm sure we'll find out about it because it's always Tilapathy 66, 67. This guy's such a big name. Its chronological next movie gets a number next to his name. Screw everyone else, it's all about Tilapathy. And I love it.
After this Friday, we will have some free Fridays to do a few reviews on these films anyway. It's just we've been tied up, obviously, with WandaVision, and I think we've got a week before Falcon the Winter Soldier starts. So I think if you can try and get hold of that, John, that would be great, and we can do a little review on that.
We can always push the Falcon and the Winter Soldier reviews to a Saturday and review a movie on the Friday. It's all good, man. We can do it. I'm sure we can. Falcon's
John, I'll tell you something.
Anyway. It's an hour long.
I know we're in lockdown at the moment, but I do miss those Friday night reviews with a few beers at our sides. Hopefully we'll be getting them back again, because
back very soon, Stephen.
It was always good to have a wheat beer while we did the review. But we're going to move on to our final topic, John. We're staying in India, and this is all about football legend IM Vijayan, and he's acted film in line for an Oscar. This is coming in from OlympicChannel.com, and after dazzling on the football field, that's soccer, IM Vijayan features in several films. His latest movie, Sound of Pain, could make its way to the Oscars now. John, it's the last topic. It's 12:30 at night, and I'm going to be reading quite a bit here, so pardon my English if I do slur my words or mispronounce. I will do my best, but it's really just to give us a sort of idea of who this guy is from our point of view, where he's came from, talk about a little bit about his film and obviously his football career as well, his soccer career. So Indian football player turned actor IM Vijayan's latest movie, Sound of Pain, has been shortlisted to be a contender for an Oscar nomination. The former Indian football captain's new movie, the first in Kuramba tribal language, is among the 366 films that have made the cut in the preliminary round of the 93rd Academy Awards for the Best Picture category, which is interesting.
66. Wow.
For the Best Picture category, John, not foreign. Yep. So that's interesting. I have done a lot of films in the past, but to star in a movie which has been shortlisted for the Oscars is something that's very rare, and it is massive, IM Vijayan told the New Indian Express. IM Vijayan has also appeared in some 20 regional movies, and he plays the lead in Sound of Pain, which revolves around a tribesman who collects and sells honey. It is directed by Vijay Mani, who holds the record for the fastest film produced from script to screen, 51 hours and 2 minutes. That's phenomenal.
That's crazy.
Apart from that film where they're doing the one take, this has got to be got to be the quickest, hasn't it? But IM Vijayan said it was easy to work with the director because it was very similar to listening to what your coach wants you to do on the field. That's a good example there. Vijayan, however, felt that making it to the Academy Awards might overshadow his success on the field. He said this: all the while I was primarily known as a footballer, and it's a huge part of everything that I am today because the sport gave me everything. But after this, I don't know if people would start thinking of me more as an actor first and footballer second, he wondered. IM Vijayan played an instrumental role in Indian football in the 1990s, guiding the national team to the South Asian Football Federation Championships in 1993 and 1997. He was the top goal scorer of the tournament in both title-winning editions and was named the All India Football Federation Player of the Year in 1992, 97 and 2000. The legendary striker still holds the record for the fastest international goal by an Indian, scoring only 12 seconds into the game against Bhutan in the 1999 South Asian Games. Now, John, before I let you in, the only other person I can think of who has had a similar career path is Vinnie Jones, and I used to think he did reasonably well. This guy's surpassed Vinnie Jones.
Stephen, I'm looking
on football terms and on acting terms.
Yeah, Vinnie was a limited footballer, let's be honest. Renowned for his fuggery and getting sent off within seconds. I love Vinny, man. I think he's a great guy. I love him, and the likes of Guy Ritchie's Lock, Stock 2, Smoking Barrels. He's brilliant. He's got that hard man image. Of course, he tragically lost his wife recently, and we've seen a different side to Vinny. So he's a cool guy. This guy seems like an even cooler guy, though. He's had a really rich life. If I can get to 51 and live even a third of what this guy's lived, I'll be a happy guy. You're looking at his filmography. He starred in a plethora of movies, Stephen. And the one that springs to mind right away is Biggle. I think we reacted to Biggle. I'm pretty sure we did.
We did, yeah.
And he was in that. So he's certainly experienced. He's been acting since 2008 or something. So 2004. So nearly 2 decades. So he's had his career in the 90s. He's now an actor. I think most people would give their right arm to be an actor or a footballer, not one or the other, not both. So for this guy to get 2, and not only that, but to get a movie shortlisted in the last 300-400 at the Oscars for Best Picture, that's some achievement.
I find it quite
that are made in a year.
I find it quite humorous that he's actually concerned about his, public perception that his movie career might overshadow his football career, which has been a very successful football career.
Yeah.
It's a nice position to be in, isn't it?
It is a nice position, Steve. As I says, I'd take one, let alone both. The only other people, Steve, I can think of that have sort of jumped that divide between one career to the other are people like Beckham, David Beckham, who's been a really successful football player. Now he's getting into business. He runs a football club and stuff like that. He's been a really good entrepreneur, doing various different things. It's a hard thing to do. Once you've set yourself up for a certain career, usually you're set in your ways, and it's difficult. Some footballers find it hard to come out of that career because they get stuck in the rut of camaraderie.
I think the old way that footballers had after their career was to run a pub, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was as far as they went, yeah.
Like a certain ex-footballer up here that played for a certain club. But yeah, Stephen, look, it's very interesting. I don't mind him. There you go, I'll say that. I don't actually mind the guy. But Stephen, it's very interesting. It'll be intriguing to see how this movie does in terms of shortlisting at the Oscars, whether it can get into an even lower number of shortlisted movies. I don't know the machinations of Oscar shortlisting, if they whittle it down to a set few. Being realistic, I don't think it's going to make the last 6, 7, 8, whatever it is for Best Picture, because it's the Academy we're talking about here. They will have their favourites picked out already, but still a real big achievement for this actor, IM Vijayan. I can't say his name because it's very late. To get into a last 300 odd movies shortlisted at the Oscars, that's a real achievement. And for this guy to have been a successful footballer and to jump the divide as an actor and do that, it's even more impressive. So I wish him all the best. Hopefully he does whittle down into the last few, maybe even make it in there somehow. But I ain't get much more to add to it, Stephen, unless you have. I'm going to round the show up. I've screwed it there. I put the wrong topic up there. I don't even think I had the right topic up there, Stephen, for the entire discussion. We'll find out when I look back later on, but I'm pretty sure I didn't. So that's going to be hard work for you, cutting that into a topic later on with the wrong topic bar down there. I do apologise for making your life a nightmare, Stephen, but look, that's going to round it up. What's your thoughts on the array of topics we touched upon? What do you make about Black Adam starting shooting next month? Is that something that excites you, thrills you? Do you care about it? Are you ambivalent towards that news? What do you make about Come to America and Eddie Murphy and Arsenal's story about having to cast a white man all the way back in 1988 just to appease Paramount? What do you make about the other topics? Edgar Wright's Running Man, School of Rock, The Bullying, Telepathy, Vijay, and this great little movie, Sound of Pain. You can comment down below if you've got anything to say at all. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Hit the follow button on Twitch if you want to see more content like this in the future, and you'll get it, guys, if you do. But look, until then, I'm done speaking. Bye bye.